There's a particular kind of smile that defined the late 1990s. It was bright, hopeful, and slightly pixelated, beamed into our living rooms from the colorful world of children's television. It belonged to the generation of young stars who seemed to have life all figured out. They were charming, talented, and the friendly faces we grew up watching. Their world was filled with laugh tracks and neatly solved problems. In just 22 minutes plus commercials, everything could be made right again. We invited these stars into our homes, and in a sense, we felt like we truly knew them. Yet we didn't. What we saw was only the character, only the smile. Rarely did we think about the weight hiding behind it. But what happens when the cameras stop, when the perfectly constructed world of television fades and reality takes over? This is the story of one such young man. He was a trailblazer, a role model, and for a shining moment, one of the brightest stars of his generation. Behind the curtain, though, he was fighting a devastating, silent battle no one could see. This is the story of Thompson Young. To understand the world that made Young famous, we must go back to the turn of the millennium. It was a unique time filled with both excitement and anxiety. The Y2K scare had passed without disaster, and people were stepping into an uncertain digital future. Pop culture was vibrant and sugary. Boy bands and pop princesses dominated the charts. Fashion was a questionable mix of denim overload and frosted hair tips. Meanwhile, television was going through its own revolution. At the heart of this for young viewers was the Disney Channel. Unlike today's media giant with blockbuster film universes, back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Disney Channel was smaller, more focused. It built its brand on a specific kind of aspirational entertainment. This was the age of DCOMs, Disney Channel original movies, and a new generation of original series. Together, they created an entirely new type of celebrity, the Disney Channel star. These weren't the mega-famous child actors of old Hollywood. They were relatable, kid-next-door types who became well-known for playing characters navigating everyday teenage struggles, first crushes, schoolwork, and awkward social lives. Shows like Lizzie McGuire and even Stevens thrived on this formula. They were lighthearted, wholesome, and almost always centered on white suburban experiences. Into this cultural landscape stepped Thompson Young. For young black actors, the road was different. There were successful black sitcoms and stars, yes, but the role of the teen idol, the face on posters across bedroom walls, was rarely filled by a young black man. Will Smith had broken through in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but he was the exception, not the rule. The industry hadn't built a clear path for successors. There was no established model for a young black actor to become the kind of mainstream, family-friendly hero Disney wanted. That changed with the creation of the famous Jett Jackson. Thompson Young was born on February 1, 1984, in Columbia, South Carolina. From an early age, it was clear he wasn't destined for a quiet or ordinary life. His parents, Velma Love and Tommy Scott Young, separated when he was young but co-parented with a shared dedication to nurturing his talents. In the third grade, Lee played Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in a school play. That performance ignited something deep in him. Acting wasn't just a childhood fancy, it was a calling. His mother recognized his passion and became his strongest supporter. Believing his talent needed a bigger stage, she made a bold choice. At 12, she moved with Lee to New York City. It was a life-changing decision, one driven by a mother's faith in her son's dream. In New York, Lee worked hard. He landed an agent, earned roles in theater, and dedicated himself to his craft. Then came the audition that changed everything, a new Disney series called The Famous Jett Jackson. The concept was groundbreaking for its time. It followed 16-year-old Jett Jackson, an actor starring in a hit action show called Silverstone. Wanting a normal life, Jett convinces the producers to move the entire fictional production to his small hometown. The series balanced his double life, part international spy adventures, part ordinary teenage struggles. Disney needed someone who could be both a charismatic hero and a relatable kid. They found it all in Thompson young. At just 14, he became the lead star of a flagship Disney series. Not a sidekick, not a background character, but the hero. The famous Jett Jackson was a hit, and Lee became one of Disney's first black teen idols. For young black audiences, seeing a hero who looked like them on screen was revolutionary. But with success came pressure. Lee wasn't just an actor, he was also deeply creative. He wanted to shape stories, not just perform them. He co-wrote one of the show's most beloved episodes, What You Wish For, where Jett longs for a life without fame, a story that mirrored Lee's own reflections. After 3 seasons and a Disney Channel movie, the show ended. At just 17, Lee was a household name. Many expected him to leap from one project to another, but he made a surprising choice: college. He enrolled at the prestigious University of Southern California's School of Cinematic Arts, majoring in film with a minor in African American Studies. He graduated with honors, proving he wasn't just chasing fame. He wanted to master storytelling as an art. Lee's post-college career was marked by steady, diverse roles. He appeared in Friday Night Lights, Aquila and the Bee, and even had a comedic turn on Scrubs. His biggest adult role came with TNT's Rizzoli and Isles, where he played Detective Barry Frost. Funny, loyal, and a little squeamish, Frost became a fan favorite and cemented Lee's place in Hollywood as a respected adult actor. Behind the scenes, however, Lee was battling private demons. Colleagues described him as kind, brilliant, and spiritual. He embraced his Yoruba heritage and even traveled to Nigeria, where he was initiated as a priest in the faith. Spiritually, he carried a quiet depth and dignity. But privately, he struggled with bipolar disorder and depression, conditions his family later confirmed. For years, Lee carried the burden of his illness largely in silence. His mother later shared that he didn't want to burden others with his struggles, a heartbreaking reflection of the stigma surrounding mental health. Despite therapy and treatment, the battle grew heavier. On August 19, 2013, Lee didn't show up for work on Rizzoli and Isles. Concerned colleagues asked his landlord to check on him. Tragically, he was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was just 29. The shock was immense. How could someone so talented, so beloved, reach such an end? His death sparked conversations about the pressures on child stars and, importantly, about mental health within the Black community, where stigma often prevents people from seeking help. Lee's family turned their grief into action. They founded the Lee Thompson Young Foundation, dedicated to breaking the stigma around mental illness and promoting mental health literacy. His legacy became not just one of tragedy, but of change. Lee's impact remains powerful. As Jett Jackson, he was a groundbreaking Black hero on children's television. As an adult, he proved that fame was secondary to learning, integrity, and craft. And through his death, he helped force a necessary cultural conversation about mental health. Rizzoli and Isles honored him with a moving tribute episode, retiring his character with dignity. Audiences wept with the cast, who clearly channeled their real grief into their performances. In the end, Lee Thompson Young's story is both triumph and tragedy. His life teaches us that strength and vulnerability are often intertwined. He was a gifted actor, a scholar, a spiritual seeker, a son, and a brother. His brightest smiles sometimes hid the deepest struggles, reminding us that everyone carries unseen battles. His greatest legacy is empathy, a call to look beyond the surface and to build a world where asking for help is seen as courage, not weakness. Though his light went out too soon, the echoes of his soul and the vital conversations his life continues to inspire will last for generations.